It is time for another edition of the WTL Code S. The captain is here. We've got good lineups. Play day 6 of the regular season. Matcherino Esports versus Basilisk. I'm ready. The nerds are ready. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
In the bottom right side of Golden Aura as opening match of WTL Code S Play Day 6. We are looking at the main base of our great Iona Sotala. He was going to be our starter today, which I know surprises some of you guys, but that's what it's all about. Keep the enemy guessing. In the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the man from Matcherino Esports, who is Astrea. We missed the first 2 minutes due to a swarm host game. I apologize, but we are here now. Astrea's got a double gate set up, and that makes me wonder if he went Nexus first or not. I will confirm the opening of Astrea as soon as this game ends. I don't want to go back in time right now. But a double gate opening with a Nexus, and we have a Stargate. First Adept going rather adventurous. Can this Adept die, guys? Ooh, might have been worth to maybe pull a probe there. Or actually a drone. The Adept dies without pulling a drone. That's why Iona doesn't pull a drone. I kind of thought if you would temporarily block it there and trap it, okay. Great quality today. This is not my fault, guys. There's only one way that I can show you guys these games, and that is by opening a link that the WTL folks give me. Right now, I think I can count the amount of pixels that we currently have on screen. So I really hope that this is not going to last very long. There is a backup stream. I'm going to try to refresh it. I'm not allowed to join these games. I'm only allowed to show you guys a clean feed, but yeah, what is this? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and give up on this and see if the Twitch one is a tiny bit better than the YouTube one. Often when the YouTube one has issues, the Twitch one has issues too, but Twitch looks good for now, so we're gonna swap feeds. And we go for this one. Oracle flies into the main base, and Iona does have a queen popping. I was gonna say is a little bit surprised by that, but we've got a queen out, losing 3 drones. That is a decent amount of adepts though. 6 adepts, even without glaives. Could become rather complicated to deal with. It was not very clean, but I think this links around is pretty clean. Even if we don't have that many links, it will buy some time for the queens to do their thing. We're pulling the drones away for a split second. I'm not sure why. Maybe because of Oracle number 2. Based on the minimap, I think Oracle number 2 was nearby. But taking out that many drones, or taking out that many adepts while not losing too many drones, obviously good. We do end up losing 2 more there towards the end. 5 adepts for 5 drones, 17 links, and an overlord that has gone down so far. I can live with the start, it's not too bad. This could have been a whole lot worse. Iona is obviously a man who loves to be perfect. Perfectionist. This wasn't perfect, but I think it was good enough. Easily good enough even. Astrea has a lot of wild builds. I think you guys saw some of that already in the ESL Masters Americas that is currently going on. Where he did drop a series, and he actually dropped a map as well against Eric. So not the cleanest run so far for the man who is one of the big favorites, I think, to win America. Together with Scarlet, Trigger, Special, and Calazur. The big 5. 16, I would guess, the amount of pixels we had on our screen. It wasn't very many. +1 missile attacks, roaches, and we have an infestation pit going down on the side of Serral. I'm not expecting a roach swarm host here. I'm not actually totally sure what Serral is gonna do. Ooh, the queens could have attacked the Oracle. They'll still at least get a couple of shots off. We've got Overlord speed on the production tab as well, but Serral is not much of a Roach Ravager Queen guy and make a German taxi and fly some queens to the other side of the map. We know that Serral loves quick hives. Against double robo with the robo bay, I think the quick hive is a bit more likely. Looking good for Astrea. Serral losing a map would make the series spicy. Last week it got a little too close for comfort. I was obviously just back from my Vegas trip last week when we did the WTL Code S. I was kind of just chilling, and I was like, it's Starlight Twinkle, it shouldn't get too scary. And it actually got really scary. We were in trouble more than once. I'm expecting a pretty strong performance from the squad today. Whenever I see Serral with these super quick hives, I think back of the games that he played at IEM Katowice against the likes of Hero, where you would think that the Protoss players hit very gnarly sharp timings with double robo, stalkers, a War Prism, Observer, Colossus, and it's like, there's no way you can get a Hive out and you can get Vipers out in time. And then Serral always gets Vipers out in time. So I'm not too concerned yet. There was a War Prism in the main base. I thought those were Adepts, but apparently those are Stalkers. I think it's gonna be okay. I am not too concerned. We've got a Lurker then, morphing on the side of Serral as well, as the Hive has finished up. Like, we're only 8 minutes into the game and the Hive is done. Love to see a couple Vipers on the production tab ASAP, and Serral is gonna fire those up. One of the Oracles flying in range of a Sport Crawler and a Queen, so that one gets picked up. Astrea is gonna be able to do his thing here, but I do not believe in any sort of a Colossus blink timing before the Vipers are out, because these Vipers are gonna be done in time. Apparently Astrea is gonna try, and that means that it's still always gonna be a little bit scary, because it is ultra important that Serral can nail an Abductor too. But with this build of Astrea, you don't have a Templar Archives, so there is no ability to feedback these Vipers. This is where we need to scramble our defense together. One of the hatcheries is in trouble. Serral is okay with giving up on that hatch as long as he can just stop this push. It's going to be very hard for Astrea to transition out of this, so it's kind of a now or never moment. 5 Lurkers are morphing. The Vipers are here. We could test Colossus positioning by the American. Kudos to Astrea for that one. +2 finishing up. We've got charge on the way, but none of that is very important. What is a lot more important is that we've got our first few Lurkers. Oh, he blinks forward. The Lurkers can actually start firing immediately. Serral does not go for Abducts, but he's going to go for a Blinding Cloud or 2 instead. Astrea did a good job there in at least disengaging immediately, because I think that would have been painful. I don't know if he had any detection or revelation. We lost one Oracle earlier. We saw an Observer, but I don't know if it was with the army. It is still with the army. Serral is confident that he doesn't need all of his units defensively anymore, so he's going to send a couple of Roaches to the other side of the map, and it's going to force out a recall. Now, losing your 4th hatch is not that big of a deal. Colossus is very exposed. Serral gets an expensive pickoff. That's obviously what makes our life a little more joyful as a Basilisk supporter. Astrea is now going to transition into Disruptors, but I have a hard time believing that you can play against a Hive Serral without any High Templars. You need feedback. I have tried, guys, where I'm like, what if I just make a lot of Robo units? They can't possibly abduct all of them, right? That's wrong. They can. If a Zerg knows that you're not getting any High Templars, they won't make 3 Vipers, but they're going to make 5, 6, or 7. And then every single imported unit is just going to get abducted. He's going to transition into... oh wait, I saw High Templars, I believe, there. Yeah, we have a Fleet Beacon and extra Stargates on the way as well. The Disruptors are going to get abducted. It's obviously a nice pickoff. Serral cannot afford to lose the 4th base, but I think that goes without saying. 5th base is going to get picked off for the 2nd time in this game. Earlier it got picked off at the 6 o'clock spot, now at the 3 o'clock. It's going to take a little while, I think, before Astrea's army is truly going to be an army that Serral has to worry about. Seismic Spines is done, Adaptive Talons is on the way. Serral's also getting a Spire. A maxed out Yona with a little bit of money in the bank, some minerals, some gas, and he's just able to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Serral has never been an ultra aggressive Zerg. Obviously can bring the aggression if he feels like it's the best call, but he's just very confident in his Hive Tech play. And if we are that confident, why would we rush things? Didn't we see a couple of these right before this series started, guys? A Nidus network going up inside of the main base of Astrea. Astrea is on top of it though with a few Zealots. He's gonna deny it. Also finds a decent amount of Zerglings at the Zelmaker Watchtower. Not a bad game by Astrea at all. He's definitely able to do his thing, execute his build. But at this point, to win, you're gonna have to find some amazing traits across the board. And that's gonna be a whole lot easier said than done. I don't know how many Stargates we are at. I feel like we already saw an extra Stargate, so I think we have 2 Stargates now. And he's adding in number 3 and 4. But I'm kind of guessing. Oh, whoa, no. We have 4 Stargates already. We're adding in number 5. So 5 Stargates. And what I do like about Astrea, guys, is that even before he's building carriers, even before he's building Tempest, he's already focusing on the air upgrades. +1 air weapons done, +2 air weapons on the way. That is all very good. But I want to say I'm not too worried, as we're going to land a couple of abducts here. Colossus will die. The Disruptor is in a lot of trouble. That one is going to fall as well. A lot of Disruptor falls as well. 1 or 2 Vipers went down there. But now even High Templar is getting picked off on the left side of our screen. As Astrea just lost a lot of expensive Protoss units. Was not able to land any of those feedbacks. That Nova somehow misses. And even though Astrea is maxed out on supply, guys, a lot of it is in production. And carriers, you don't just build a carrier, chronoboost it out and see it appear immediately. It takes a long time before these carriers show up. So I think for the first time, Astrea is the one who's going to take some economic damage. At the bare minimum, lose a few probes. But this Nexus seems pretty dead. A lot of chrono has been used, but even with chronoboost, it takes a while before 5 carriers appear. And Serral, just like Astrea, also already working on air upgrades even before he has any air units. Nice double kill there on the Disruptors with the Lurkers, but the other way around. On the Lurkers with the Disruptors. Too early for high-level video gaming. Love to see the units lost resource step. I have the feeling that Serral got amazing trades over the last 2-3 minutes. Without necessarily doing a whole lot of special stuff. Because the transitions on Yona's side are always so quick, so smooth. Makes it really hard as the Protoss to have the right answers. To go from 0 to 5 carriers is definitely pretty awesome for Astrea. Who's now adding in a Mothership, Flux Veins. Yeah. There are some scary scenarios here as a Zerg where you can end up with a few too many Lings, Roaches and Lurkers. And if you then lose the fight decisively against the carriers, Protoss can just reinforce with Void Race, Tempest, whatever, and rally everything to the other side of the map. But I think Serral is very well aware of this threat, and that's why we see 10 Corruptors on the production tab. Denying a 5th base at this point. A coffee. A cold one it's going to be. But yes, I'll join in the coffee group. I was hoping that the latter games would wake me up, but getting bobbed by Skillers and then playing against Swarm Host, that didn't really do it for me. It's gotta be nice to be so confident in your late game, the way that Serral is. Right, so you kind of feel like as long as you get here, you're like, okay, the game went well. I am happy with what I've done. We are looking for an abduct. We will find an abduct. And that is a lot of minerals down the drain. Carriers a grand total of 600 resources, 350, 250. Stalkers and High Templars not finding a whole lot of value on the right side of the map. Second adopt apparently went down as well, so that's carrier number 2. There goes carrier number 3. And Yona is once more putting on a masterclass of how to play some late game ZVP. The way he's done it time and time again over the last few years. Lurkers and Hydras finding some good trades on the top side of the map. And even though Astrea was able to execute his build, was able to get his hands on quite a few bases, found a little bit of economic damage, he now finds himself stuck in a early late game scenario. I think the Void Ray addition this early is not the worst one. Because Serral doesn't have any Infestors, doesn't have too many Vipers, so I like the idea of going for a couple of Voids, but unless Astrea completely smashes a fight and then can F2A move to the other side of the map, I'm just never too concerned about Void Rays. Large units like that shouldn't be abductable. Well then, why would anyone ever abduct something? You want to see Zerg abduct a Zealot and a Stalker, mate? Is that what you would like to see? Risky to be on creep like this with Astrea's army. I don't know if he's got a recall available or not. Yes, he does, but he's still going to end up losing 3 High Templars very quickly, and I believe a carrier went down as well. Yep. Yeah, that wasn't it. That kind of an army that is kind of good if it's backed up by cannons and batteries. You cannot expose it like that on crit. Astrea forced to give up on that 9 o'clock base one more time. Serral's army just looks terrifying. Serral's bank looks terrifying. Serral looks terrifying in the webcam. Looks fantastic. Zealots are not very good against Ultras, as you guys were able to witness there. That War Prism cannot get recalled because the army just got recalled, and it means that the Prism should die with this many Corruptors chasing it. It does not happen too often that you're looking at a game of StarCraft 2 19 minutes in and you're like, oh, it's 190 supply against 190 supply. This could be anyone's game, right? The next fight is going to be important, but Serral plays it with so much calm and composure that you almost feel like there's just no way this goes wrong. And I'm not trying to spoil the fun, but I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. It just really feels that there is no way that this goes wrong. If it wasn't Serral playing, then there may be a lot of other things we could talk about. The Protoss should do X, Y, Z, but at least Astrea does find a hatchery in the bottom left side, so he can deny the gold base from going up. These disruptors could be in a bit of trouble, and I think Rico is still on cooldown. At least a revelation does land on the Corruptor Viper army. Rico is not on cooldown, guys. We are very familiar with Coco's second battery overcharge, and apparently Coco's second recall is a thing as well. Was that a mothership recall, maybe? Now that I think about it, kind of have the feeling that that was maybe a mothership recall. Tempest, Void Ray, Immortal Archon, and a single leftover carrier. So far the air units of Astrea are not really playing a very big role yet in this game. I thought there was maybe a moment where you can kind of like surprise the Zerg, where they still have a lot of lurkers. And then suddenly it's not about your ground army anymore, but it's about a mass air army. But that moment never came. And now I'm just kind of looking at these two armies, and I definitely favor the army of Serral. I think Astrea is now having the right approach, trying to stay near a lot of cannons. Cannons are surprisingly decent against Ultras. I should have known this for a long time. Here is our mothership, by the way, that's going to use its new ability to temporarily cloak some of these cannons and the Nexus, but there is an Overseer in the back, but it's still hard to bring that Overseer as close as you would like to. Is Zerg best late game? In the hands of Serral, absolutely. There are a lot of Zergs who don't like playing games like this against Protoss, who will feel that they cannot get the trades. Not too long ago, I casted a game on this map between Nina and Uko, where obviously the Protoss had a slightly bigger bank as a fungal does land, but there was just no way that the Protoss was ever going to lose. So it's not so much a racial thing. It's more just that Serral always finds the perfect balance of it is not easy as a Zerg player to get value out of your Corruptors, Ultras, Vipers, and Infestors at the same time. And then maybe even have Queens to show up and drop a Transfuse or two. But I'd be lying if I told you guys that I wasn't worried about Serral doing all the right things. Serral pretty much always does the right things in the late game. That is true. Alpha Heart. Uko did not build a single Viper. Yeah. If Serral would completely give up on Vipers and maybe even give up on Infestors, then I'd be like, you know what? I am kind of concerned. I don't know if just a couple of Corruptors and Ultras are going to win the game. But Serral's got the right units. There are not more minerals. If anything, there are less minerals on a gold, because the gold has 6 mineral patches, blue minerals have 8 mineral patches. But for every single trip to a blue mineral patch, you get 5 minerals in the bank, and gold minerals, you get 7 minerals in the bank. So your income spikes more with less workers, but overall, it actually has less resources. Interesting little army here by the Protoss. A couple Stalkers, an Immortal, and a Disruptor. Apparently it is good enough to push the Ultras back. We'll give kudos to the Immortal for that. Astrea definitely gathered a bit of a bank. And that gives him more of a shot in this game. Not that Serral's bank got any smaller, but when you only have 1200 minerals in the bank, you know it's never gonna be enough. Now at least we are looking at the kind of game where potentially Astrea can take a decent fight, and whatever he loses, he actually has the resources to replace it immediately. These Lings, by the way, are as feisty as they will ever be, with +3 melee, +3 armor, and I can only assume that they have Adrenal glands. I believe I saw it on the production tab a long time ago. So 17 probes die, the Stalkers get obliterated, that Immortal falls as well. So I was like, huh. The one thing I don't have yet is a Baneling Nest. Maybe I should get a Baneling Nest. I can get behind it, guys. I support the Baneling Nest. Thanks for answering the questions, Roddy. No problem at all, matey. Anything you guys wonder about, feel free to ask me, and I'll try to answer your questions to the best of my abilities. I just don't do balance whining. That is the one thing I don't do. But any questions about the state of the game or the players, feel free to shoot. The Void Rays are in pretty serious numbers. There are 12 of them, and this is where we'd really love to see a Spellcaster or two show up on the side of Serral. Serral is going to get another Corruptor, another Viper, +3 flyer attacks as well. Astrea doing a pretty good job in at least making Serral's life a bit harder in the bottom left side of this map. Nice Storm as well, on top of a couple of drones, so that is 6 drones dying, make it almost every single drone that dies in the bottom left. It's not too dramatic when there are 9,000 minerals in the bank, but it's still nice. It feels good if you're Astrea. I'd like to know everything about my personal life, please, thanks. It's not too secret because I'm live pretty much every single day, mate, so... Ooh, Lynx, by the way, could get us around on 2 High Templars and an Immortal there. My personal life is basically what I'm doing right now. I don't have a whole lot to hide. All these expensive units did get picked off there, by the way, on the left side of the map. As the Storm does land, Tempest will one-shot a Broodlord. This is where it's definitely worth keeping an eye on that probe count, because all this time we're like, okay, Astrea still has a decent amount of workers. We saw 18 die earlier on the top side of the map. But when the Ultras and Lings are this powerful, and it's super important for Astrea to kind of keep his army together, I feel like we're gonna blink twice soon, and then the probe count is 7. And we're like, oh, okay, Protoss is kind of dead. Tempest will one-shot a Broodlord once more, but it's not so much about the Broodlords. Obviously, Serral can rebuild ground units for days. As long as Serral doesn't do anything bad with the 26 Corruptors he's currently working with, he should be fine. Yes, Astrea's yellow number in the bottom side is the worker count. There are some different overlays that people use in StarCraft 2, so it can be a bit confusing to people that don't watch the game 24/7, but the numbers from left to right are current supply, potential supply, then minerals in the bank, and then the plus number behind it is mineral income per minute. The green number is gas in the bank, plus number is gas per minute. The yellow number is the amount of workers you currently have. The final number, the orange one, is your army supply. And then last but not least, every now and then they show you guys the APM, but APM numbers are not very accurate because of rapid fire, low repeat rates, etc. So honestly, you can ignore the APM number altogether. It doesn't mean anything. Mothership is going to activate cloaking one more time, as we have a big recall of most of the voids Couple of the Tempests, not all of them. Maybe a YOLO Zealot run by can actually pick up that hatchery on the top right side. The Tempest should go for the hatchery there, by the way. It's less than one full volley for these Tempests to kill the hatch. There you go. That was the right call. A couple of the Spore Crawlers getting picked off as well. Serral showing a lot of respect to this Protoss army. He knows that if he has a bad engagement and he does get stormed and a couple of his spellcasters get feedback, he could still be in a bit of trouble. The Fungals are whiffing. Feedbacks are landing on at least a couple of these units. But in the end, Serral takes out 3 or 4 of these High Templars. So that's 600 gas down the drain. And if you only ever had your hands on 12 assimilators, losing 600 gas will start hurting in a 30-minute game. Did Trigger respawn, by the way, already, Reynor? Just making sure that he's awake. I think at this point he should be awake. But no? Uh-oh. Maybe he was counting on that late game Serral. Trigger is like, I can roll around in bed a little bit longer. Yona is going to play some late game for me to make sure that I don't have to play at 7 AM. Big recall towards the bottom left side, so Astrea will get fully on top of the bottom left. And don't forget that he also just took out the top right, so it is not so much about it hurting the income of Serral. It's more that Serral is not getting his hands on those resources, because once a player mines those resources, obviously the other player can never get their hands on them anymore. And there isn't much left in the bottom left, but it's still enough for Astrea to fight over. I think top right has way more left. Really cool army rotations here by Astrea. He's pulling out all the tricks that Protoss has to offer. Recall here, recall there. Making it difficult for some of these slow Zerg units to always be in the right place. Good morning, sunshine. Good to see you in the chat. So Astrea has now taken out 3 bases, guys, in the last 2 minutes. I'm still not too concerned, but Serral is going to lose a lot of drones, going to lose the Baning Nest. This is a moment where apparently we're going to go for it. Fungal lands on a lot of these Void Rays, but where is Parasitic Bomb? There is your Parasitic Bomb. And that is going to deal so much damage. Oh no, it couldn't be any more clumped up if he tried. And this is why I didn't want to hype it up all that much, guys. Because these units could not have been more clumped up if Astrea tried. Serral lands a perfect Fungal, a perfect Parasitic Bomb. And he makes it look easy. Yeah. Is anyone surprised, guys? I know Nate Diaz is not surprised. Reynor is not surprised, and looking at the face of Astrea, I don't think he was too surprised either. It is just a matter of time. That fungal is a little bit less impressive. We're now fungling 1 Stalker at a time. We went from fungling an entire maxed out Protoss or air army to fungling 1 Stalker at a time. With 400 gas in the bank, this game is now pretty much over. It's going out like a candle in the wind. Astrea never wants to leave a game early when he's not just playing for himself, but he's obviously playing for the team. And he knows that if he can potentially just take 1 map off Serral, that would be a massive morale boost to the rest of his mates. I think he knows that this one is pretty much over. This is one of these moments where we obviously know that Serral has a large bank. Astrea doesn't. If Astrea would know about the bank, he would definitely wave the white flag. Right now you're on that bit of copium where you're like, you know, maybe I did a good job in denying his economy. I did take out a couple Brood Lords. I did take out a couple hatcheries. I killed some drones. I stormed the mineral line. Maybe he's broke too, right? Please, one time. And deep down inside, you know that he's never broke. But yeah, there is that 1% chance that you've done a whole lot better than you thought you did. And there is nothing in the bank. The Fungo is going to land once more. This Protoss army is not very impressive. Serral obviously does need a couple of units that can fight this. Corruptors alone are not going to be good enough. Ultras against Zealots is a very unfair fight. I don't know how many Zealots it takes to kill one Ultra with a bit of screen support, but if that Ultra would be in a choke point, guys, it'd be a very serious number. So we are just waiting for this game to end. There is no need for some fake cast or hype over here. Serral definitely did what he needed to do here in game 1. He's gonna lose that hatchery apparently in the bottom left side one more time, but Astrea's leftover army, a couple Stalkers and Zealots are simply never going to be good enough. Still has a few Voids and a few Tempests too, but when the army is gonna die to Zerglings and Serral has 3,700 minerals in the bank, you know it's over. GG gets called. We are not even going to see a final fight. Jonas Otala puts us 1-0 up. You know what, guys? After last week, where we were down over and over and over again against the Starlight Twinkle, I can kind of appreciate a 1-0 lead. The non-existent Broodling damage. I don't think the Broodlings are all that bad. Yona's hair is wilding, by the way, this morning. Jeff, mate, you're not gonna insult the players over here. You don't think you've ever seen Astrea win something? He is recently, literally, the reigning champ of the ESL Americas. In the peak years of Neep, Scarlet, and Astrea, so before Trigger became one of the big boys, and America was region locked, in the very first year that we had the big online competitions because of COVID, Astrea, Neep, and Scarlet all won regionals, so they had a perfect split between them. I don't know who won what, but let's say there was summer, spring, and winter. They all won one. But Astrea was the only player who made it to the final in every single season. So out of the 3 big American names, he was actually the best performing American. Or Canadian. And obviously was amazing last season as well. Defeating Scarlet in the final, so I think you gotta tone it down a notch. Mr. Jeff. Astrea is A, an awesome guy. B, a pretty successful player. C, was also the back-to-back best performing Protoss at Home Story Cup. Home Story Cup 23 and 22. Nobody performed better than Astrea while playing Protoss. Astrea made top 3 in 22 and made the finals against Reynor in Home Story Cup 23. So, yeah, he's pretty good, mate. I think that we can stop insulting him. Because if you look at his resume, you'd be like, ha, that's actually pretty good. Especially when you consider there were a whole bunch of Korean Protosses that were playing in that as well. Bottom right side, we were looking at the main base of that excellent American Protoss who has been a successful individual. Matcherino Esports, Astrea. Top left side, taking the 1-0 lead for us. We are still undefeated in WTL Coda's regular season. It is Basilisk Serral. If we win today, guys, it would be... I cannot count. 17 playdays of regular season WTL Codas that we have gone undefeated. Is Serral beatable in late game? We might get an answer on that question in a little less than 2 weeks. Perhaps we'll see Serral play a couple games against MaxPax in the ESL Masters. MaxPax looked alright not too long ago when he played in a grand final against Serral. I guess that was ESL Summer, right? Or was it... am I thinking of Masters Coliseum? What am I thinking of, guys? Where did MaxPax play in the grand finals against Serral? And the score was 4-2 in the end in favor of Serral. But MaxPax looked pretty good, looked very competitive in almost all the games. Was it the ESL Summer Regionals? Yeah. And that was the previous patch. That was the patch where a lot of things were a little bit more powerful for Zerg, and obviously +2 banelings, one-shot probes. So, yeah, let's see. I think recently they also played against each other on this patch already, and it didn't go all that fantastic. Serral is going to scout the double gate opening once more. Not super standard here, by the way, what Astrea is doing. It's also a wall of that. If I was doing it, you guys would be bullying me. Be like, a running wall, pilot in the wall. Shouldn't the Zerg just bailing bust this? Yeah, they met in the Kung Fu Cup and Serral won 3-0 or 3-1. I guess 3-1 is what it was. Zaun is one of the very few, though, Jumi, that did win a late game scenario against Serral. There was that game on Data C in the DreamHack Masters Atlanta when the casters were in Sweden. That the Zaun surprisingly won. A proper late game against Serral, and somehow Zaun won. But it says enough how rare it is that I have to talk about a game that happened over 1 year ago in a different patch. Not one, but 2 map pools ago. Where Serral lost in the late game. If that's what I have to talk about, I think the answer to the question is that yes, Serral is beatable, but it doesn't happen very often. Especially not in the late game. Astrea is going for a wild build here, guys. We had a proxy pylon going up on the top side of the map, and that is going to be a gateway. So we're basically opening up with a 4-gate here. That gas in the main base has not been taken. Astrea bringing out some real NA tactics as he is just straight up 4-gating Serral. And this kind of stuff, though, is crazy enough that it just might work. It's a lot about how well can you hide it. And so far, I think Astrea is doing a good job in making everything seem somewhat normal. He's got a Stalker here shooting at an Overlord. He's going up to 3 bases. This is actually a cool build. And Serral has not scouted that pylon in the gateway setup yet on the top side of the map. Does not have a Roach Warren. Does not have a Bailing Nest. If he sees the gas is missing, that's a big scout, guys. If he sees that... Okay, now Serral, I think at this point Serral knows. Because the gas is missing. That should never be missing. I think Serral should really drop a Roach Warren or a Bailing Nest. I don't really care what he drops. But he's got to be dropping something, no? He's going to go for the Roach Warren. Astrea is going for kind of adepts only. I find that I don't know. This is not where I thought Astrea was going to go with this build. Is it like just a whole bunch of adepts into then Resonating Glaze? But the Twilight Council is so late. I thought that we were just going to go for like a mix of Stalkers, Zealots and adepts or whatever. And just try to win as a surprise with gateway units. I mean, this was never a glaive opening because Astrea clearly had a million adepts. Maybe this is the game plan. A lot of Zergs prefer playing with +1 melee Zerglings against Blink Stalkers than with Roaches. Because Roaches in small numbers are not fantastic against the Blink Stalkers. So maybe this is 200 IQ big brain gaming by Astrea. Where he's gonna make sure that Serral cannot go +1 melee. Because he's worried about Resonating Glaive Adept, and then all of a sudden, surprise, it's Stalkers! I'm confused. +1 missile attacks on the way. Double Robo now as well. Maybe Astrea's game plan just got ruined because of that Overlord Scout. And he didn't want to commit to whatever he had in mind. I don't know. Bizarre tactic here by Astrea. It's very hard for me to figure it out, and I see everything. So imagine if you're Serral. I like that Adept. The Adept cannon between the gateway and the mineral patch. Serral once more just has that very quick infestation pit with Overlord speed. also... Oh, a supply block, by the way. How big is it? We have a couple of pylons on the way. Serral says, I can help you with that supply block if you just let me kill this stalker. Then I can run a couple of links into the natural main base. That ain't happening. We've got a Hydralisk Den being dropped now, and that hive does get fired up 7 minutes into the game. I'm very confused about the game that we are currently witnessing on Oceanborn. Not so much from Serral's side. I think what Serral has done, everything makes a decent amount of sense. We know this is how he likes to play. That's the adept cannon I was talking about, by the way. Astrea's build has just been very hard to figure out. But in the end, we are heading into a double robo setup once more. He does have Blink Stalkers. This could turn into another 25-30 minute adventure between these two. Yeah, but we have 82 drones at the moment on the side of Serral, so obviously he was cautious for a while because he was probably not 100% certain what Astrea was doing. And then when he had that Overlord Scout in the main base and he saw that the gas was missing, he's like, okay, is this some sort of a weird, crazy, random gateway attack? Maybe one upgrade on the Twilight Council and then I'm being all in? Since that ain't happening now, Serral can just do his usual thing. But I'm sure that was a pretty confusing scout. Astrea heading into Disrupt this, I think, a little bit quicker than he did in that previous game. Previous game we had 4 Colossus, now we only have 2. Maybe Astrea moving out with 2 Colossus is what he feels he needs to do to hit a timing before those Vipers are out. Was that a War Prism? Oh my goodness. Ay, ay, ay. War Prism flying into the natural, getting picked up by a couple of Queens. Apparently a couple of Stalkers were inside of it as well. 3 of them in total. That's a big loss because imagine this army right here with a War Prism at the bottom of this ramp. And then hitting with only 2 Colossus before the Vipers can abduct any units. Be like, oh, that's promising. That's a massive donation on the side of Astrea. Why did he lose his Prism like that? He's probably asking himself the same question. Why did I lose my Prism like that? Because now your reinforcements are going to take forever to show up. You're going to have to warp in units on your own triangle base or your natural. They have to walk all the way to the top left side of Oceanborn. And that's going to give Serral the time to get some energy on these Vipers, to get a few more lurkers out. And I guess then we can just prepare ourselves for late game once more. So many Stalkers. I think if you have this many Stalkers, you gotta be willing to get a little bit adventurous with them. And try to land or try to forward blink every now and then. A couple of Novas have gone forward. 4 Novas got fired. Only a single lurker went down. Colossus getting abducted as well. I do love the battery overcharge on the bottom side of the map for Astrea as he goes for the recall. And he should be able to clean up these roaches and zerglings. Couple roaches can escape at first, but don't forget about the leftover blink stalkers that should be able to pick off at least a few of them. But in the end, the attack gets deflected, gets denied without even any serious problems for Serral. Lost a lurker. I mean, that's not that big of a deal. So we're going into Storm, +1 air weapons on the way as well. And there's a good chance that Astrea is going to play it out in a very similar manner to he did that previous game. He's still going to try here, has a couple of disruptors, is hoping to land some big Novas that can give him some momentum and confidence. But especially on creep, that's just incredibly difficult. Off creep, the disruptors always have a lot of potential, but the Zerg units move so quick on creep. I also, he's been warping in slow zealots throughout the game though. He had a slow zealot protecting his gateway setup too on the top side of the map. But obviously 12 minutes into the game, you want to have charge. Not that the zealots are fantastic against lurkers, as these Novas have a lot more potential. Off creep, they are simply better. Those are some good connections. Serral not very happy with that. Let's go of a deep breath. A little bit of frustration there. He's like, late game again? Yes, Yona. Late game again. That was Serral's only attack in the upcoming 18 minutes. He says, alright, I've learned my lesson. Yeah. Exactly. I was like, you really want to do this? I thought you kind of learned your lesson after Golden Aura, but apparently Golden Aura was not enough. Yona still posturing himself somewhat aggressively. Doing a good job in avoiding those Novas. I would like to see the Novas connect with the Zerg units. If they do, that's exactly what's going to happen. That was not the right moment to take a look at their battle report. High Templars have Storm. A single Storm will go down. Softens up a couple of these Zerg units. I do feel that overall this game is already a bit more competitive than that previous one. I think that previous one had one scary moment. Here, I kind of feel that a few more things can go Astrea's way. It's also more likely that I think Astrea is going to get good fights on this map. Just because of the many different attack paths that are out there. Astrea is maybe setting up a flank. There are a couple of lurkers getting on top of that base at 3 o'clock as well, so that's going to be annoying. This may pull the trigger on the side of Astrea. I kind of think Astrea has the army to clean that up though from Serral. He's showing a lot of respect to these forces. He clearly doesn't want to take a bad fight against the Vipers. Maybe worried about Blinding Clouds as well. We have a couple of Blinding Clouds going down. A Tempest or two is getting abducted. Storms will land. I think overall the Protoss army should always survive. Serral didn't do bad. And just kind of running out of steam there after losing the Vipers and eating a couple of Storms with the Hydras. A 13 worker lead on the side of Serral. As he's got +1 flyer carapace on the production tab and he's going to fire up 10 Corruptus. What I love about the way that Yona plays late game is that he pretty much always is spot on figuring out how many lurkers does he need, how many Zerglings do we currently want to have, and how many Corruptors are necessary. You rarely see Serral take a fight against a Protoss air army where he doesn't have enough Corruptors. It's probably one of his biggest strengths. Figuring out the unit comes, and when your drone count is this high, when it's like 82, like it's easy if you only have like 25 or 30 drones left and it's ultra late game. Or end game, as some people call it. But when you have 82 drones still, you need to be pretty cautious figuring out how you want to spend that 120 army supply as the Lurkers hero obliterating a gateway army and a disruptor. Serral did drop some supply, apparently 8 Hydras went down somewhere. Next match, more PvZ by the way. We're kicking the clan war off with a PvZ best of 2 between Serral and Astrea. After that is Reynor versus Arrogfire. Do you play in the ESL Masters today, by the way, Trigger? And if so, who are you playing tonight? I will be casting on Sunday again. But I feel like on Sunday you shouldn't be playing. You play tomorrow? Okay. A mothership +2 air weapons and some big plasma shields upgrades. I feel like +3 plasma shields is still the upgrade. That outside of +3 air armor I see the least. Couple storms landing on a few lurkers, but it is just a skirmish. You lose a couple units, I lose a couple units. 4 lurkers going down is not bad. Serral's now going to try to get on top of these spellcasters with these very tanky ultras, and there aren't too many immortals on the ground. So these ultras don't have a whole lot to worry about, but battery overcharge scares everything, even ultras. Queens and lurkers trying to put some pressure on that 3 o'clock base on the side of Astrea as we have Zealots running forward. Astrea trying to transition into some immortals, some void rays. I'd love a Dark Shrine by the way in a game like this. Just to have like a DT somewhere on patrol for a bit of vision, have a DT getting on top of a hatchery that's trying to be built on location. I think if we have this much money, if we're on this many bases, we should always have a Dark Shrine. Can also be nice to deal with like a couple lurkers and hydras by themselves without an overseer, or a couple of ultras that are trying to get on top of cannons and batteries if there is no overseer. Oh, we have a Dark Shrine. I'm an idiot. I just haven't really seen it yet, but we did wipe in a DT. There is Shadow Stride on the production tab now as well. So, makes sense. Because for instance here, we don't see an Overseer, we don't see any Spore Crawlers yet. It is just nice to at least be annoying with the DT. DT swiping away on some Hydras. I don't think that Astrea necessarily had this as his game plan. Void Race, by the way, here getting a very good engagement on some Ultras. That was nice. That is the kind of way that Astrea wants to start a fight, where he is the one initiating the fight, where he is jumping on top of a couple of units of Serral. I wouldn't have even hated Prismatic Alignment there for a split second. +3 air weapons. Close to finishing up 18 minutes into the game. Somewhat early, but not ultra early. Battery overcharge gets activated again. Couple of storms and cannons dealing with ultras. Recently I was casting a game. This is a couple months ago. I've casted a lot of games in the last few months. And I saw ultras taking a lot of damage from cannons. And I was like, oh, the ultras don't have guidance plating. And it turned out they did. And I always feel that nothing of Protoss deals damage against ultras besides immortals. But cannons are legitimately somewhat decent in high numbers. Obviously, if you got more ultras than cannons, they are not that decent anymore. But if you have like 5 or 6 cannons dealing with 1 or 2 ultras and the cannons are well spaced out, cannons are surprisingly good. I guess the damage of cannons is just high, so all the armor doesn't matter that much. Thank you, MDNA 99. Let's go, mate. There's a big fight happening, guys, but the Observer is not too interested in it. At least there were a couple of units nearby. Maybe Astrea realized that last game, the way that Serral split the map wasn't totally fair. Where Serral got both the bottom left and the top right for just a little bit too long. Astrea wants to make sure that at the bare minimum, he's gonna get access to an even amount of bases. Is that the key to victory? I really don't know. That one potentially game-deciding fight we saw with the Void Race on the right side of Golden Aura does not give me a lot of confidence if I'm rooting for Astrea. It is not easy to space out your air units. Classic put on an absolute masterclass at Game is 8 against Reynor and I think against Serral one time as well. But we saw a few beautiful late-game fights from the Protoss point of view, where there was just like a concave of Void Race. And I was like, apparently you can split Protoss air units. But that's really a lot easier said than done. I see plenty of top tier pros that are 7k MMR players stack all their units and see them get fungled and die to Parasitic Bomb and Fungal at the same time. In the previous game it did not seem that Astrea, his Void Race split, is anywhere near as good as Classics is. At this point we have 3 Infestors and 2 Vipers, so this is the kind of army though that if Astrea is able to land a couple of big feedbacks, he is allowed to dream. I wouldn't say it was months. I think he did it. There were multiple moments in Game S8 where Protoss late game looked better than it did in many other tournaments. That's a kill, by the way, on the hatchery. Astrea, guys, is killing hatcheries now. We have now been looking at Astrea and Serral playing a best of 2 for over 50 minutes. Obviously this map is full of big maps. Golden Aura to me doesn't feel that big, but it's obviously not a small map either. Yeah. Yona has been making a lot of very funny facial expressions where he does not seem to be very happy or pleased or entertained with this best of 2 so far, but it's going well for us. We're up 1-0. And I'd be lying if I told you guys that I was very concerned about the outcome of Game 2. But this one does still, to me, feel a little more competitive than the first one. The first one, it really did not feel that Serral was ever going to be in trouble. I don't think he's in trouble here, but with the setup that Astrea has, with the amount of bases that Astrea got access to, if he is able to land a few big feedbacks and then force a fight that Serral doesn't really want, I see a path to victory for the Protoss. In the previous game, I didn't really see it. Yo, Brian, thank you so much, by the way, mate. I also did not know that Cryomancer, but I've been live for a little while, and we are watching Serral. A lot of people enjoy watching Serral. DT runs into Spines and Spores, is gonna get picked off. Astrea is gonna get on top of this hatch. No, Serral has plenty of money in the bank, so losing a single base, not that big of a deal. I like having an observer here to see if Serral is immediately retaking it or not. And that is the case. Ooh, couple of High Templars here could be stuck. Ultras are gonna get on top of it. I like that battery overcharge though. Immortals near battery overcharge, but the Neural Parasite, guys. Immortals now killing the High Templar, killing each other. That's actually a very cool fight here by Serral. Nice little dive. Does not get the Immortals in the end, but got a couple of the Spellcasters, and that's the Fungo he's looking for, and that's the Parasitic Bomb as well. But the Chain Fungo is missing. Come on, split off your Void Ray, mate. Guys, you guys are used to that on this stream, I know. But I was kind of hoping that at least we made a tiny effort in splitting up that Void Ray that had Parasitic Bomb. Jeez Louise. Yeah. After watching that Parasitic Bomb be active for the entire duration and softening up every single Void Ray, I almost feel like a liar. A bit of an effort. You can maybe set up like a second hotkey of Void Ray, so then you can immediately split them up and it becomes a bit easier to see which one is the one that's targeted by Parasitic Bomb. I've gotten a tiny bit better at it myself over the last year. I used to just think it was impossible, but that's because my computer was bad. And now that I have a higher frame rate, I'm like, actually you can select the unit that got targeted. It's still difficult to do it instantly, like Serral did once, that famous Mudalisk split that he had on Everdream, I believe it was. But with Mudas it's a bit easier than with Protoss units, because a lot of the Protoss units have that color of Parasitic Bomb. But it doesn't have to look like that. Even when it's difficult, guys, it does not have to go down like that. No, you cannot select it in the box. You just need to find the Void Ray with Parasitic Bomb on your screen. There is no indicator in the unit selection box. Roddy always remembers, guys. That was against sort of on Everdream. But in Astrea's defense, guys, or in the defense of any Protoss out there, I gotta stick up for my Protoss players a little bit here. It is a lot easier to see which Muda is targeted, because Mudas are dark. And Parasitic Bomb is kind of like light golden. So if Mudas get targeted by Parabomb, the one jumps out a bit more. While Phoenixes and Void Rays have a bit of that color of the ability. It'd be a lot easier to split your Void Rays and your Phoenix if they were as dark as Mudas. I thought it was sort of, but if you guys say it was Reynor on Everdream, I believe you. We can probably find the clip. Just go to ESL_SC2. I think it'd be too easy though. So a couple of the people in chat are talking about if you select, let's say, 12 Void Rays, that the one that's affected by Parasitic Bomb, if it would have like a red border in your unit selection box. As we have a few Fungals landing on Void Rays and Tempest, but I think then splitting would be too easy. Void Rays and Tempest are gonna get abducted. There are still so many Vipers in the mix, and Astreas is not able to land any feedbacks by the looks of it, and he's getting kind of picked apart here. We're gonna warp in 4 more High Templars. I guess they got fungled maybe in the beginning of the fight, and we missed that. The Ultras and Lynx have very casually, by the way, destroyed the Natural. Now there aren't really too many resources left in the Natural, probably absolutely nothing. But it is always annoying as a Protoss if the natural got completely breached. Because if Serral now at a random moment makes 80 Zerglings with an Overseer, 3/3 links, Adrenal Glands, they run into your main base, then you're gonna lose all your production facilities, and that becomes really annoying. Not quite 80 links, but exactly what I mean. We do have the mothership here. I kind of forgot that we still had a mothership, guys. Hello, Revi. We land a Fungo on the Archon. I hope Tokyo is nice. I see so many people, by the way, currently in Japan. Why is everyone going to Japan? I mean, I would love to go one day, but I have like 3 different sort of friends, or at least people that I know, that are all traveling to Japan right now. I'm like, what a random coincidence. SC2 late game is just boring. They should just remove tier 3 units. Well, I don't think that SC2 late game is always boring, but PvZ can be kind of boring, yeah. And obviously with the most recent patch, they've tried to make it a little bit more dynamic, where there is a bit more mobility and it's not ultra slow units, but as long as the Protoss army only ever performs really good near cannons and batteries, maybe the balance council hasn't quite succeeded yet. I think it's a lot better than it once upon a time was. I think we're heading in the right direction, but since I don't always want to be Mr. Everything is rainbows and butterflies, and then you guys won't take me serious anymore. There's obviously stuff that I love and love less in StarCraft 2 as well. And late game PvZ, I think it is better, but it's definitely not my favorite either. So I understand that some of you guys think it's frustrating. But I don't know if there is an easy way to fix that. It often has a lot to do with how the maps play out as well. I mean, Serral has 26,000 resources in the bank. Astrea has around 14,000 resources in the bank, as the Tempest are going to try to get in range and pick up one of these Vipers. These links, by the way. Links are so ridiculously good that even when you think like, oh, there's a couple of units there, Astrea is going to be fine. Then you look away, you look back, and it's not just the natural that died, it's the 3rd base that has died. That 6 o'clock base is going to die soon. 3/3 Zerglings are just mental. I am truly wondering about the role of this mothership, by the way, in this game so far, as Serral is going to use Neuro Parasite on 2 of these oracles. Couple storms landing on the Infestor, but the Infestor will stay alive because the Queens are there to transfuse it. Serral really would be a great MOBA player, eh? I mean, we see Reynor play a lot of League of Legends without any success, but if I see Serral spellcasting, I really wonder if Serral plays League for a year, guys, how would that go? Feels that Serral is way better in casting abilities than Reynor is. Fungo lands on 4 of these High Templars, by the way, that have energy, and if every fight starts with Astrea losing the High Templars, that means that he can't really lend the feedbacks anymore. And if you can't lend the feedbacks and the Vipers come in range, they're gonna abduct your units. Corruptors and Infestors will take care of these Templars. Astrea's probably wondering what on earth is he supposed to do. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know. We need to start a fight by landing a Revelation. And then we somehow need to land some feedbacks. Or at least properly protect our Tempest. Astrea is an amazing StarCraft 2 player, but I don't think that the late game PvZ finesse is really his cup of tea and is where he shines the most. No. Kung Fu Cup is always on Wednesday, guys. The Kung Fu Cup is a one-day tournament that always gets played on Wednesday, basically from 1 p.m. European time till around 6 p.m. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday are the WTL days. Drop a High Templar with a Prism to cast feedbacks. Not easy against a Serral that has a lot of vision and has 18 Corruptors and has the ability to abduct your War Prism, but it is a plan, and once in a while it could potentially work out. It seems that a lot of the Protoss players have completely given up on the idea that carriers are good. I'm still kind of a carrier believer until the Corruptors have 3-3 and the Zerg is ultra rich, then carriers are indeed not that good. But even when carriers may not be that great, I will always believe a lot more in carriers than I believe in a couple of random Tempests and Void Rays. Because I kind of feel that with carriers you can still get lucky, the Zerg can maybe mess up, all the interceptors can get deployed. It's like, Astrea's current army, I think it just really sucks. Unless the Zerg runs into you, eats every storm, gets feedback, and cannot kill some units near battery overcharge. Broodlord's getting on top of this base. We're gonna have a recall, I guess, of the Tempest, right? And then the Tempests are gonna try to get on top of these Broodlords, but it's obviously hard to say what I think Astrea should do or what he did wrong, because it is Serral, and Serral's so incredibly good in ZVP. I just don't really believe in this current army. This would be an army that I think is excellent if Serral is very broke. If Serral cannot get his hands on another base and desperately needs one more base, and every single time that the Tempest shoots, it hurts, but we are just not playing that game. Roddy's prediction about Lynx chewing through the main was spot on. Yeah, that's why sometimes in high-level games you may wonder, like, oh, why is the Zerg throwing away so many units trying to kill the natural of the Protoss? Like, there is nothing left in the natural that's important. And that's because that is just the gateway into the main. And if you lose everything inside of your main base, like, that does hurt. Because all these production facilities, they cost gas, they cost minerals. You have to rebuild all your pylons, all your initial gateways. So, it's actually something that's very valuable for the Zerg to eventually get on top of. What would be the ideal TOS army in this case? That is, I think, what we've all been trying to figure out over the last 25 minutes. I still believe, at least in a couple of carriers. As Serral now realizes that he doesn't need that many drones anymore, so he wants to make sure that he doesn't find himself in a spot where he goes up against the Fist of Astrea, 200 army supply, and that he only has 110. You definitely need a few High Templars for feedback and storm. I think that's something we can all agree on. I think as long as there are Ultras, it is nice to have a couple of Immortals. I just would always at the bare minimum get a couple carriers. Like, I think don't ever want to play without 5 or 6 carriers. Because Void Rays and Tempest just don't deal crazy damage. Why wouldn't he build Sports and Spines? I think he feels that he's got enough. Or he feels he doesn't need them. I think that's something he could have done with these drones. But I don't know how many Spores and Spines Serral currently has, but I think he's got a decent amount already. The drone run by. You see the production tab right now, Astrea rebuilding Stargates and Robos. So painful when you only have 2800 gas. It's really painful to renew these units. The Oracle gets abducted, at least a single revelation went down. I think one of the few things that would have really helped out as well if Astrea had just a little bit more activity with the Tempest. If you think back of Neep in his glory days, the Tempests are basically always in range of the Zerg army and are always able to at least try to land those shots when you need them the most. We have max packs in the chat, guys. That is actually the real max packs. Let me go ahead and VIP him so he stands out. If anybody deserves a VIP, it is definitely the Prince. Who does not seem to be a believer in carriers. The carriers indeed do really fall off if the Corruptors have 3-3 upgrades. This is why I think you guys will remember the stay-at-home story cup where Stats defeated Serral in the finals. I was the ultimate annoying Protoss caster. I was like, go, please attack once. Like, if you have +2 carriers against 0-0 Corruptors, go, 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 go. And then we finally had a Protoss who just went for it with an upgrade advantage. And that's where carriers can look amazing. And once the Corruptors have 3-3, of course, they look a little less amazing. But I think I still like it more than a lot of the other Protoss units. Epic fight here, guys. Probes versus drones. 38 minutes into Oceanborn. The probes even need some shield battery support. Now we wiped in zealots as well. You guys may not like it, but this right here is what peak PvZ performance looks like. Probes called their big brother for help. 2 zealots came in, saved the day. So max specs. If you don't like the idea of adding in a couple of Who do we play next week? Can we see a direct strike game? Not on this channel, no. MaxPax does like the idea of carriers, guys. He just says that he doesn't think they do anything except messing with the AI or the A move from the Zerg. So a couple of carriers in the mix to mess with the A move is good. MaxPax says that it's good. We'll definitely take his word for it. Infestors on Burrow tried to land a couple of fungals, but all the new fungals whiffed. The Infestor got nerfed a little bit. That projectile. It's a little harder to land it. It's about as hard as landing a Revelation right now. Kidding. Reynor does not seem to be very happy with the Neo Fungo. Soul River, it has a lot to do with Serral's ability, mate. There are some games, we can have the exact same game right now between a Protoss and a Zerg, and then the Zerg will be losing, and then we can all complain, oh, Protoss late game so stupid, Protoss late game so strong. It's just that Serral is incredibly good at what he does. Because if this was easy, you'd see every Zerg do this. But do you guys see every Zerg do this? No. A, it's hard to get there, and B, even when you're there, it's so hard to execute all of it. Don't hate Serral for being great. Why Roddy doesn't ask me about carriers? I'm a top platinum player with more than 3000 MMR. We've got 4 carriers in the mix right now, mate, but you know what? Walk on Earth. How do you feel about the 4 carriers that Astrea currently has out on the map? Are you a fan? Astrea is now a Protoss that is just on the bottom left side of Oceanborn, guys. He started in the bottom right. Serral started in the top left. Both of them lost their natural. Serral still has his main. Obviously, it's not very impactful. The army supply is fun to keep an eye on. And we have apparently reached the phase of the game where Serral is down to 0 drones. Astrea has 2 probes. Serral has 56 larvae. 13 queens, so 26 army supply and queens. And 40 corruptors against 18 void rays, 4 carriers, 6 tempest. I wouldn't hate a few more archons. I know there are 12 brood lords, but I just think it's always nice to have a few more archons. You don't even need to start the fight with them. They can be chilling in the back. But if there is a world where you can ever kill the broods, Fungo perhaps? Neuroparasite is going to be casted on triple tempest. High Templars are leading the charge. High Templars now get fungled as well. New fungal for Reynor. 2 fungals went down. The third one kind of connected. We need one more. We do land a couple of feedbacks, but all 3 High Templars die in the end. The Tempest of Serral are pretty good against the Tempest of Astrea. And that will be all for now. Astrea made 5 more Tempest. And that means that he's now down to 39 gas, guys. After this, the only thing that Astrea can build are zealots and probes. I don't think there is any need to build probes. I don't think there are any minerals left. No one has any income. +0 minerals, +0 gas for both players. So I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to rebuild my spawning pool in case I lose the spawning pool in the main. Big brain gaming. I would love it if Serral gets another spawning pool. Yeah, I think there are multiple hives. Serral has one drone. What is he gonna build with that drone, guys? I saw that the Polish Terran player Mitsu, he was angry at the Muslim. Wrote something about people are BM on the ladder and they write things on the minimap with supply depots. Talking to you, Demu. I was like, ooh, what did I miss? I don't know the story behind that, but apparently Ben has been a cheeky boy on the ladder. This is where we can bring up Zombie Grub's favorite fun fact, by the way, guys. The game has been going on for so long that now the clock shows a 0 in front of the minutes. And this is because in the first couple years of StarCraft 2, a second in StarCraft was not an actual second. It was a second played on the fastest game speed. So 43 real minutes would have turned into a 1 hour game. After like 7 years or something, Blizzard is like, maybe a second should just be a second, you know. That was the most useful meeting they've had in the last 8 years for StarCraft 2. So they changed the clock, but now you guys can still see it. At once 43 minutes have gone by, a 0 appears. This is often the only fun thing to talk about in a 44-minute PvZ, so we will always talk about it. Neuroparasite getting used on an Archon, not once but twice. Don't forget that gas banks are completely drained on the side of Astrea. Serral still has 6.4k. Trigger is looking at these games and he's like, man, I did not have to put any alarm clocks at all this morning. I could have gone to the gym, I could have had breakfast, I could have had a Jamba juice and I would have still been on time without putting my alarm clock, but... There are 2 matches today, guys, in WTL Code S. Obviously, we are mostly focusing on the Basilisk match. I'll try to do a little interview with the boys as well. We'll let Reynor ask Serral some questions about this best of 2. And after that, we also have the Africa Freaks versus Platinum Heroes, maybe? Is it Platinum Heroes? I don't think it is. It's someone else. But I know that the Africa Freaks are playing. The longest professional SC2 match is the match between Mana and Firecake. I think it went on for 2 hours and 30 minutes. It was a never-ending wave of swarm hosts being sent to the other side of the map, running into cannons. But I don't know, it's not a great record because it's just silly. Nothing was happening. It was just 3 units running into static defenses for 2 hours. And maybe both players trying to make a point. It was legit more than 2 hours here. Imagine casting that game. I'm glad I was not the caster. I don't know who was. Maybe it was Todd or Colaris or... I think it was probably... If I have to guess, I would say that it was Colaris and Todd. I don't think it was epic. Like, I know it drew a lot of eyes. And we had a lot of these games back then. In 2013, 2014, Heart of the Swarm era. That games would go on forever. I casted a tournament in Texas once called Lone Star Clash, where we had Stefano and Petraeus, if you guys remember that, a Zerg from New Zealand, and that tournament was full of 1+ hour games. And our viewer count would always go through the roof whenever we had a 1+ hour game, because everybody wanted to be a part of it, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't good for StarCraft. It's like short-term success, but then people looking at it be like, oh, that's really dumb, and they'll never watch again. It was Medals and My Insanity's Penguin. Could be. He's good in Pokemon now, by the way. Speaking of Pokemon, my babe bought a whole bunch of Pokemon cards. I'm very excited to open them up, but it's gonna take a little while. Bring back Colaris. Colaris is still very active. He stops by my stream almost every second day, and he would have loved to be a part of the ESL Masters that are currently going on. But as a lot of you guys know, Blizzard no longer supported the ESL Pro Tour, so ESL had to pay everything themselves, which we can be very, very, very grateful for. So whenever something doesn't quite feel perfect or it doesn't totally go to your liking, don't snap too much at them, because we could have had nothing. Blizzard just said at one point, like, oh no, we're not doing it. So the fact that we have ESL Masters, that and that's why we don't have a host anymore like Polaris. In a perfect world, obviously, we would just have Polaris or Smix hosting every single day. We would have a production company, but that is unfortunately all just way too expensive. So they came up with a new creative way to run it, with either Biomorph or Wadi in charge, and then a couple of other casters. "48 minutes and counting." We actually have a couple of Zerglings battling Zealots. This is why Serral, guys, made the funny face. If you guys go back into this game around like minute 9, 10, 11, when Serral ran a couple of lurkers down that ramp in the center of the map, Astrea was there with his army. He fired a couple of disruptors forward, and Serral did the... because at that point, he knew. That was only minute 9 or 10, but he knew. Serral's actually a fortune teller. What is Astrea hoping for? Astrea is hoping that Serral does something that a lot of Zerg players do. And that is attack with an army that's somewhat clumped up, gets feedback, gets storm, bit of cannon and battery support. Then you wipe the floor with the army and you win. We have seen Zergs attack Protoss players time and time again. And obviously the way that StarCraft 2 works, guys, is that if you spread out your army, but you move forward, your army kind of gets closer together, right? And this is why, in general, defending is a lot easier than attacking, because if you attack, your units tend to clump up. And Astrea has an army that could punish a clumped up Zerg army. Astrea obviously knows that he's kind of Omega dead, but he's hoping that Serral loses his school. Little does he know, Serral never loses his school. 6,000 gas is a lot, but I actually think that Serral's current army is around that. Or do you guys think it's more than 6,000 gas? 3 Vipers, 10 Infestors, 41 Corruptors, 11 Broodlords. 5-6k gas or something, right? So Serral can maybe remax one time, but not multiple times. But it's obviously incredibly unlikely that Serral loses everything while not killing something. Yeah, it's over 6k gas, so Serral can't actually No, that's not true, Sun and Moon. Serral cannot rebuild his army 5 times. You guys sometimes focus on big numbers and you think like, wow, he's so rich, but I don't think Serral can even rebuild his entire army once. 6,000 gas is a lot until you have to build 40 Corruptors again. You can build a lot of Zerglings, that's for sure. But he cannot rebuild his army 5 times. Not quite the start that I had in mind, guys, for the WTL Code S today. This is play day 6, in case any of you guys are wondering. So far, we are leading the regular season. It's been a not a perfect start for Basilisk. We are 5-0. Last week, we were in a lot of trouble. We've been in trouble a couple of times so far this season. But we're still undefeated, and we're trying to keep it that way. I saw a long question about the future of StarCraft, StarCraft 3. I'll be honest with you guys, I have nothing super wise or useful to say, nothing very hopeful. I do think that the Microsoft thing is good news, but I think it's good news in a far future. Like, that's not something that we're going to see benefits of overnight. StarCraft 3 is not going to be announced tomorrow. We're not going to have a million new players. Battle.net will not suddenly be perfect again. But I do believe it will always be better than what Activision was. So, I'm happy, but I've been hurt too many times in the last 13 years that I try not to get too carried away. What happened in Game 1 was somewhat similar to what's happening in this game. Except for the fact that we had a few more ground units. And if there are more ground units, there is in general more battling. So it was a lot of Ultras, Lynx, and a bit of Lurkers against Immortals, Archons, High Templars. We had a few Sky units, but not this many. And Astrea just could never secure more than the 5 bases or 6 bases that he had on his top left side of the map. Remember that 3-hour game? No, this game is not gonna go on for 3 hours. If you guys want to play a guessing game with me, I'll give away a sub or 2, guys. Let's spice this up a little bit. Right now, predict when this game is going to end. And if you get close, you get a sub. I am going to guess that this game ends after 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 8 seconds. My official guess is 1:02:08. Okay, it's going to be incredibly difficult to keep track of these guesses. I forgot how many of you guys suddenly want to talk to me if you can win something. Yeah, okay. Worst prediction ever. I'll just give a couple subs away to the community and I hope it lands on the winner. I mean, there is a VOD, so if you're lying, I can technically go through the VOD. We're also recording as well. The WTL guys have had it with this game. Astrea is going back and forth in his chair. He knows that he's obviously part of something that has maybe turned into some sort of a clown fiesta. Serral still as intense as he is in minute 2. And that's why he's my GOAT, baby. 55 minutes with nothing happening, or 3 minutes into a TVC against Clem. Serral as intense and focused and dialed in as always. That boy is locked in. If Serral was a quarterback, he would never do that kneeling in the last 2 minutes of a game. Serral would always be looking for another touchdown. Even if it's 69-0, Yona will never be done. No, they're not gonna go for a draw. Boom, boom, Oracle that and a Void Ray that, baby. And those are 2 units. Don't forget, guys, that every single unit that gets picked off right now is a unit that will never come back. By the way, isn't there a world where Serral can eliminate Astrea if they just take a fight, right? Let's say even if the fight goes bad for Serral, and then Serral builds nothing but 3-3 links and he just rallies everything in. 3-3 links. Brrr. I mean, slowly but steady, Serral is going to win this game. At this point, it is truly inevitable. I do not think this is a draw. I don't think it ever should be a draw. We are just going to look at one abduct at a time. I don't know about this move without the Corruptors and the Vipers. Oh, we are trying with the Infestors, by the way. That is a Tempest that falls and will never come back. Don't forget about my prediction, by the way, guys. I said 1:02:08. I'm feeling good about it. Gonna be boring for another 6 minutes. Reynor agrees with my 6-minute prediction. Serral's making another Broodlord. I don't know how I feel about that. Do you guys want to analyze the 2 Broodlords with me? 5 Immortals, 6 Tempests, 4 Carriers, 17 Void Rays. I feel like I haven't seen the 17 Void Rays in forever. Do these lasers still work, or are they malfunctioning at this point? This is a way to make StarCraft 2 more engaging. Units should work like diesel engines on a car. You have to fire at stuff every now and then, otherwise it malfunctions. That will teach these Protoss campers. What is the longest game I've seen? I've got no idea. But I did a couple of the ultra long Swarm host games too. And obviously I've seen Reynor battle it out with a couple of Terrans and their ghosts every now and then. I've seen a lot of games over an hour. I don't know if I was ever... I mean, maybe some of the Swarm host games. Like, I think Stefano and Petraeus had a ridiculously stupid game at Lone Star Clash in Austin back then. The year was 2013, 2014. And it was legit Swarm host into Swarm host. And then it was Swarm host versus Swarm host, Broodlord. And they were just rallying a million freaking games. A million freaking free units into each other. I saw the Fire Cake Mana game, and we talked about it earlier, but I was not casting it. Zugalian, Little Cannon. This is the second game of a best of 2. After this, we are going to watch more PvZ. So I hope your body is ready, as Reynor is going to take on the most talented young man that the European scene has to offer. 16-year-old Arrogfire. And I promise you guys way more fireworks and hype and entertainment than these last 33 minutes have been. Max hype for Reynor. Hype for Reynor and Arrogfire. I am an Arrogfire fan. I mean, I'm a fan of most Protoss players, but... What's your bank? He might GG. I think Astrea might leave if Serral shares him the back. Astrea's like, me too. This is where Astrea should say, that's all. Me too. Couple of oracles getting abducted, I believe. Only a single oracle is left. Astrea has had it, guys. We are just gonna send it. Are you not entertained? Mothership gets abducted. We have even the microbiome shroud landing. Turns out that Corruptus, Fungal, and Parasitic Bomb is really good. 59 minutes and 36 seconds is all it took for Serral to get a 2-0 lead. Yeah, okay. The boys already said we're not gonna send Serral first anymore. So Serral wins 2-0. We get a 2-0 lead. I'm going to go ahead and take a little break after a 30-minute game and a 58-minute game. I hope you guys are okay with it. And after that, I'll be back with Reynor versus Arrogfire. That should be very action-packed and entertaining. Hopefully you guys still having some fun. Just like many of you guys, I'm also not the biggest fan of the late-game PvZ stuff. But I am a big fan of seeing Basilisk players win. So we're off to a good start. Tiny break. No. I mean, let me take a look at my PayPal, actually, guys. Actually, someone gave me money. So I have money on PayPal. It's impossible for me to check who guessed correctly. I'll have to go through the VOD. I will just gift a couple of community subs. And hopefully, it lands on a winner. Running from the grind? Never. Gift to the community. I don't know if I can... Can I do that? No, absolutely not. 5. There you go. Hopefully someone got lucky. They deserved it. I'll be right back. We are back. I'm gonna go ahead and mute the music and see. The boys are not quite ready yet. Thank you to the Basilisk. Let's go. Let's hope we get a little more action, guys, in our next best of 2. And it should be. Because Arrogfire is a very exciting... Oh, I have to settle the prediction, by the way. Settle that prediction, give you guys a new prediction. Arrogfire is a 16-year-old man from France. Not 6-0, guys. Not 60, but 16. Kid is amazing. He's very, very talented. It should be a fun series. He is an aggressive boy. He likes to attack a lot. So, and Reynor obviously is an aggressive boy as well. So I think we're going to have some fun PvZs here. Serral 1. Next prediction is Reynor versus Arrogfire. Reynor, Arrogfire, draw. It's a best of 2. WTL code as is always best of 2s. And there will be an ace match if we're all tied up after 3 best of 2s. But with a 2-0 start, hopefully there is no ace match. It is also better for a team to win without an ace match. Because if it goes to an ace match, you only get 2 points. If you win without going to an ace match, you get 3 points. 60 years would be impressive too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have mana. Kidding, mana. Arrogfire compared to Clem at the same age, who would have won? Honestly, probably Arrogfire, because Clem was really good when he was 16, but he wasn't that great yet. Reynor, however, was that great. Like 16-year-old Reynor was slightly better than 16-year-old Arrogfire, or maybe quite a bit better even. Because Reynor was legitimately world class when he was 16. Clem still was on the up and up. Yes, you are mixing things up. I actually hosted a tournament once called My Sweet 16. And it was a 3-man invitational between 3 kids that were all very good at the game and all just turned 16. And that was Reynor, Goblin, and Clem. Reynor won that tournament. Very competitive with one another. It was like kind of back and forth. Clem barely beat Goblin. But it was very close. Clem got a lot better when he was like 17, 18. Why are you not playing for Basilisk, Roddy? Because we want to win. That is the only honest answer I can give you. And the other 3 are a whole lot better than I am. Second best of 2. Let's do it.
Round 1. Fight!
Top right side of Rat, who said Station, guys. A map that we don't get to see a whole lot. It is the man who was memeing in the chat a little bit. Basilisk Reynor. Bottom left side, we are looking at the main base of that 16-year-old man from France. The best 3-gate robo player in Europe. Arrogfire. Don't think we're going to see a 3-gate robo in PvZ. I've seen a decent amount of PvZs coming out of Arrogfire. He just kind of likes the standard stuff. Opens up with a couple of adapts. Makes an oracle or 2. And likes to transition into Blink Stalkers, and we'll take it from there. Not too much very quick double robo, I believe. But there's a chance he will bust that out too. This is a map with a lot of bases. It is the largest map we currently have in our map pool. So there's a tiny chance that this is going to be a long game too. But I think overall there is too much feistiness in both of these guys to have such a long game. No. The map would scream late game, but Reynor is the kind of Zerg that's going to do whatever the hell he can to end it a whole lot earlier. And Arrogfire also plays with a lot of commitment in general. Can we get another tournament with the 3 Wonder Kids, Reynor, Clem, and Maxpax? We'll call it My Sweet 21. But Maxpax is younger than them, so that doesn't work out. I mean, we can do Reynor, Goblin, and Clem. I believe in Goblin. 5 years later, we'll do it again. My Sweet 16 has turned into My Sweet 21st. One of these 3 is not like the other. How old is Trigger? 20, I think? Maybe 20, 21, something like that. The pocket expand is blocked by 2 mineral patches on this map, but those mineral patches only have 5 minerals. Or 10. Is it 10? I guess it's 10. So basically, if you have 2 workers working on it, it takes them 2 trips. Reynor is going to take his pocket expand. Gasless start, indeed. Arrogfire scouted the gas, then the gas got cancelled. Maybe Reynor is now hoping that Arrogfire is not going to be too aggressive with his first 2 adapts. The cameras of these 2 are so different, by the way. Arrogfire has like, I guess it's a cell phone that's standing in the corner. And Reynor has the HD cam. I don't know if there are any replays or VODs because I never posted anything. I mean, I always just did stuff live on Twitch, and then the VODs were available on Twitch for a long time, but I don't think I saved the games. But there is a Liquipedia page for the tournament. I can probably find it and link it to you guys. It is the famous tournament where Goblin told me to not forget about the bits. I put up some of my own prize money, and then I promised that I would divide the donations, subs, and bits to the players as well as the prize pool. And after I hosted the tournament, 16-year-old Reynor was a sweet boy and said, "Oh, Roddy, thank you so much for the tourney. It was a lot of fun." Clem DMs me, said, "Oh, Roddy, thank you for organizing. I had a really good time playing in the games." Goblin DMs me and said, "Don't forget about the bits." That's when I knew that Croatian kid was special. I was like, what about a thank you? Or anything? Triple Oracle is going to be the opening here for the man from Matcherino Esports. As he's going to take his pocket expand as well. This is the kind of map where we saw Gerald, for instance, go for a double Stargate Phoenix and actually called that before it happened. I was kind of proud of that prediction. I don't think Arrogfire is going to go down that route. I think he was probably watching those previous games as well, and I think he's seen enough Sky Toss for now. Maybe some double War Prism action with like 16 gateways, Zealots, Charge, double Forge. Ah, Reynor was a sweet kid. And he still is. I know Reynor shows some attitude every now and then in the interviews. Reynor is a good boy. Arrogfire is supply block. I don't know how big it is. I guess the Nexus is finishing up. Yeah, it is finishing up, so it's not too bad. One queen and the Spore Crawler is good enough here. We got a quick Robo Bay going down on the side of Arrogfire. Does that mean we're gonna get a second Robo as well, or? He's kind of playing it Showtime style, as I like to call it. Because for a while, Showtime was the only one who would open up Oracles into a Robo, rather than Oracles into Twilight Council. Good morning, Anna. You missed a single best of Tuga. Didn't miss much. We've got an Naya. This actually probably has to be the furthest that WTL has ever been behind schedule. Normally they're very good with staying on schedule. 2 hours for one clan war, 2 hours for the next one. Most of the time we are a bit ahead of that schedule, but... Why would you have to do that anyway, Lino? Any good games today? Football? Not as far as I know. I'm sure tomorrow is going to be fine. My brother is celebrating his birthday tomorrow though. Won't be able to watch too much. I'll probably do a bit of WTL in the morning. I don't know what time I am expected to show up. But his birthday was 2 weeks ago, but I think my brother is so afraid that he does not get a present that he has just postponed it for 2 weeks. Because I was in America when it was officially his birthday. Now he's like, well, because it's a special age, we'll just do it on the 4th of November. I was like, what? It doesn't work like that. Your birthday was on the 23rd of October. You can't just celebrate it on the 4th of November. Yeah, he's turning 40. Or, well, he is 40. But I guess tomorrow, supposedly, he's turning 40. Reynor has a Spire, guys, and that Spire finished up, and that means that he's going to queue up some Mutalisk. So we have 13 Mutas, and I wouldn't be shocked to see +1 flyer attacks being researched as well. There we go. Reynor is going to go all out on some Muta. I like it. And Arrogfire doesn't really have a whole lot that shoots up at the moment, and now an Immortal gets surrounded in the middle of nowhere. Force Field can't save it. The WTL Observer really... Oh, triple Force Field. I mean, that's very cute. That's an amazing save. But it's not ultra impactful, because you can have 5 Immortals. But if you're not aware of 15 Mutalisk with +1 flying to the other side of the map, I'm afraid that Arrogfire is kind of dead. Because he's gone charge. He's making DTs. He's making Immortals. He's making Disruptors. Oh my goodness, poor kid. Reynor smiling. This is a absolute sweet baby Zerg dream scenario. This many Mutalisk fly into a Protoss Natural and there is nothing. No cannons, no batteries. I mean, we have one Archon, but this amount of Mutalisk could absolutely fight it. Now we've got Lynx running into that 4th base as well. And this game is completely falling apart for Arrogfire, who had triple Oracle, but he could not scout the Spire in time. Okay, battery overcharge and an Archon is very good. You probably don't want to fight that. We have one Phoenix out. Reynor should turn around and try to get that Phoenix. That is exactly what he does, and he gets it immediately. Honestly, at this point, I think it's Omega over. Reynor is going to go for a Zerg invasion as well. 5 Dropper Lords. Maybe some Queens and Lynx being dropped into the pocket expand. Reynor is showing us that you don't have to be defensive as a Zergy. You can be aggressive. You can bring some of that Zerg spice. War Prism gets picked off, and since Battery Overcharge is on cooldown, the Mutas can turn around and fight these Archons as well. I think there's like 3 or 4 units left that shoot up. Arrogfire was prepared for a lot of units on the ground. Was just not prepared for Mutalisk. Somebody was, Brad, my man Brad is asking me why did he not build anything when his fake Phoenix was sitting on top of the Spire. Sometimes players see it, but they're not actually paying attention. This is going to be the end, by the way. A Zerg invasion as Reynor is storming these Protoss bases like it's Normandy in 1944. And that didn't go too well. That was in France as well, too, by the way. 83 workers have gone down, by the way. 84, you don't see that very often. Reynor takes the one on lead. And he says, take notes, guys. You don't have to play late game. Poor Arrogfire. A lot of people ask me, Roddy, why do you build Phoenix all the time? It's because if I don't, my games look like this. Where I am just not ready at all for Mutalisk. And obviously this is a map where you have a lot of pocket bases, so the income is already a bit higher than it is on every other map. But even if it's just 10 Mutalisk and you're not ready for it, it hurts so freaking much. Wasn't the Italians though? No, they were on the wrong part of history. But that's not Reynor's fault. Chelsea said he will defeat you in the WTL playoffs. I thought I was playing against F51 this year. I thought that the potato had given up on playing against me. There is no big brain bouts tonight because obviously the ESL Masters are still running. I know during the summer season I decided to switch it up and just invite players that did not qualify for ESL Masters, but I didn't feel too good about it, and especially on a day where you have WTL in the morning, I don't think it's really worth it to do 6 hours of WTL or 5 hours of WTL and then also have big brain bouts while ESL Masters is running. It is important for StarCraft that the ESL Masters does well. And I don't really want to tell you guys to not look at the ESL Masters. So that's why we are not doing any big brain bouts at the moment. Bottom right side of Heartland, we took a little look at the main base of Matcherino Esports Arrogfire. His team is down 0-3 against this man. And our boys, my boys, BASILISK Reynor in the top left. One map win away from at least getting all 3 points. We will always play that final best of 2 as well between Trigger and Nightmare. So we've got a bit of PvP coming up. But obviously, a 4-0 start would be sweet. I was very happy with the matchups overall. I think this was about as good as it was ever going to be for us. I think that Trigger would have had a good shot against Arrogfire obviously as well. And against Astrea too, because it's always very close when Astrea plays against Trigger. But with the eye on the ESL Masters, I didn't really want to see Trigger against Astrea today. That's something I want to see in the playoffs of ESL Masters America. Not in WTL final round of a clan war of the regular season. And Arrogfire's 3-gate robo is very scary, so I think these were very good matchups for us. How come there hasn't been a new quality RTS game in 13 years? Because it's very hard to make one. I think we have been spoiled by old school Blizzard and how freaking good they were for their time. It's just that Blizzard was 10-15 years ahead in making quality RTS games compared to every other company. So Brood War was amazing and ahead of its time. Warcraft 3, God tier, innovative, way ahead of its time. And StarCraft 2, even though it wasn't too different compared to StarCraft 1, still obviously an amazing game and way ahead of its time. And I think that's why it took a very long time for other companies to catch up. Age of Empires 4 isn't quality. I have no experience with the game, but it looks very fun. I would say it's probably the best that came out after StarCraft 2. I have not played it, but I enjoy watching it a little bit every now and then. A bit of Ben, a bit of Marine Lord, a little bit of Beastie. Adapts into a Stargate. Obviously, Arrogfire knows where that previous game went wrong. He just was not ready for the Mutalisk. And even though StarCraft 2 is a game of execution, Reynor still executed a lot of things at a very high level there. Strategy can be very important, and you can win games on strategy. One of the oldest concepts in RTS is going for air units when your opponent has nothing that shoots up. Did Reynor his camera disconnect there for a split second? Maybe his cables are touching one another, because I used to have that problem too. And I think that happens when your cables are touching other cables. And he actually has my camera, by the way. He hasn't even paid me for it yet. Reynor owes me. That is my Sony A6100. Pay up. How come Reynor is now playing LoL instead of SC2? That's a great question, mate. I gotta say, I'm really enjoying the way that Reynor is currently controlling these minions on our screen. He has already taken out 4 neutral minions. I believe he took out one Roshan wannabe as well. I forgot the name of the Drake. Yeah. Oh, Reynor is doing a good job in this league game that we are currently watching. Two more queens. Reynor's solo queue is looking mighty fine. It's making some great progress. Another Oracle and a Twilight Council going down. Last game, Arrogfire. I don't know why he went for the Robo instead of the Twilight. Ooh, this could be bad, by the way, with the Oracles all the way in the top left side. If that Nexus gets cancelled, Arrogfire is going to be in a serious pickle. Show the Nexus, please. Observer, show me the Nexus. That Nexus doesn't even get cancelled. It gets killed. So that's 400 minerals down the drain. And poor Arrogfire is just having a nightmare series over here, guys. The kiddo is very good, so please don't judge him too much on these two games that you see here. Keep an eye on him in the ESL Masters, and hopefully he can travel to DreamHack Masters Atlanta as well. But this is not the best of two so far that he was probably preparing for. Couple of adepts without glaives against this many Zerglings alone is going to be rough. I guess we do have glaives. Do we have glaives? No, we don't. Nothing really going Arrogfire's way. He's going for a blink, but he's been forced to make more adepts than I think he wanted to. And he definitely didn't want to use these adepts only defensively. These are adepts that are supposed to be on the other side of the map, getting on top of a couple of drones, keeping the queens distracted, so maybe you open the door for the oracles to fly in and deal damage. It's a bit of a painful best of two so far for the young man from France. He needs to put up that World Cup song. Maybe that will bring him back into it. Reynor's got +1 missile attacks on the way. Roach speed gets fired up as well. Wouldn't be too surprised with how good this game has gone that Reynor decides to just be very aggressive with queens and ravagers and roaches. Rally a couple units to the other side of the map. He's on 67 drones. Reynor has a really good game sense. And I think Reynor knows that if his early game was this clean and has gone this well, you can just spam basic units and run your opponent over on the other side of the map. The WTL sponsor said that Korea vs the World 5 vs 5 King KOF, I don't know what the KOF is, will play until the world team wins once a month. That's crazy. I missed that final play day because they postponed it for a week, and I was in America back then for TwitchCon. So I didn't see that final play day, but I saw that dark one against Clem and Oliveira and just ended it. So I don't know if those games were epic. Maybe some of you guys remember them. I was not able to watch anything of it. Kind of sad because I did do the first 2 play days and I really enjoyed doing them. I thought it was an excellent idea. And we had some very surprising results and great games. It's a bit sad to miss the ending of it. Reynor still just spamming roaches and ravages, guys, of 67 workers. So I can only assume that he's gonna send it. Because if Reynor doesn't send it real soon, once that second robo comes online and the robo base starts kicking in and we get a... Ooh, stasis trappy here maybe. Reynor saw it. Takes care of it with a corrosive ball. Well done. I mean, Reynor is doubling the army supply, and I think Arrogfire has not quite picked up on this yet. Arrogfire is preparing for a nice little macro game here, but Reynor... Is that Nexus gonna get cancelled, guys? The Observer just jumped away. I kind of have the feeling that it didn't get cancelled. Hopefully it did at the absolute last moment, but even with a cancel there, it's 48 army supply against 128. We're gonna need the best disruptor shots that we have seen in a couple of weeks on this channel for Arrogfire to have a chance here. He does not have any cannons, he does not have any batteries. It is match point for Basilisk. If Reynor wins this game, this clan war is all over. We'll still take a look at Trigger versus Nightmare. But one of the robos was actually built outside of the third base. That one dies. And even if the queens do not show up in time, Reynor has an overwhelming amount of Zerg units here. The swarm is here in all its glory. And it turns out more stuff is a lot better than less stuff. Arrogfire doing his best to find some value out of the Blink Stalker micro. And trying to get a cannon and a battery up here and there. But it is just not going to be enough. Reynor with a very tiny thumbs up. He is gonna do. But he doesn't do very often. And that is win 2-0 in WTL Code S. But I'm happy about it. A perfect 4-0 start for us. Sorry, mate. It was too easy. I had to go there. A perfect 4-0 start. I'll settle that prediction and give you guys a last prediction for Trigger versus Nightmare. Some PvP. Games don't really matter, but there are still WTL points to play for and maybe a way to boost your ELO. And we can just have some fun with it. Before we hop into our final series, that is Africa Freaks versus whatever my stream title says. Reynor wins. Woohoo! 84% of you guys believed in the Reynor victory. Now, this is probably the most difficult one to predict. I'll make it a bit more obvious. It is a best of 2. And once more, I'll give you guys 10 minutes to get your predictions in. 10 more gifted subbies. And my pal Cell is in there. Hello, Cell. I saw your clip, Cell, of you weightlifting. And I did not recognize you from the side. I don't know where did I see this clip, guys? Was it on Instagram or on Twitter? I want to show you guys my pal Cell, who's setting the right example for all the nerds out there. But I legitimately did not recognize you from the side. You look so different. I'm so used to just staring at your face. I didn't even know that you had your side shaved. Where is this video? I want to show you guys a very strong and handsome nerd. My pal Cell. Look at this absolute animal. Jeez Louise. Who is this animal? But like, if I see this, I would have never ever said that this is Cell. It doesn't look like him at all to me. And I mean, I didn't know the Cell was this strong either. Only now you see that it's Cell, but from the side, never would I have said that that was Cell. This isn't impressive at all, though. My favorite thing, guys, showing somebody working out, doing something good. That's when the nerds climb out of their basement as they're drooling over their keyboard and be like, I do that while sitting on the toilet. It's like, all right, mate. Well done. We're very proud of you. I'll send you a video if you want. You know what? This is going to come as a surprise to you, mate, but I really don't want it, actually. I'm just happy to see that my friend is doing well. He's going to the gym, and I think he's doing great. If you don't find it impressive, that's okay. That's up to you. Let me be happy for my friend, who I think is doing great. And if you don't think he's doing great, that's up to you. I'll take a very tiny break. After that, I'll be back with our final best of 2. Actually, we don't need to take a break, guys. The nerds are ready. And if they are ready, then I am ready. No break for you. That's okay. We can take a break as soon as this clan war is over. I'm fine with it. Site Delta 4-0 obviously means that the clan war is over, but we're still going to enjoy a little bit of PvP together. Bottom right side, it was Matcherino Esports, a nightmare. Top left side, and on the left side of his camera as well, or his webcam, we are looking at the main base of our Canadian Protoss, Basilisk Trigger. And they're actually both going for a pylon on the low ground. What would Skillers have to say about that? Have these two played each other before? I am sure they did, because I think they play in a lot of online tournaments. Especially Trigger is a grinder, but I think Nightmare used to sign up for a decent amount of tourneys as well. But I'd be lying if I told you that I can recall a series. A league like will have the answer for you. I'm gonna say they've probably played like 3, 4, 5 times against each other. Well, 5 is a bit much. Between 2 to 5 times. I think that is what I'm expecting here. I've been watching Trigger stream and he's very funny. Strongly recommend. Trigger is very feisty on his own stream. I like it. You see these kids and they really blossom as soon as you put them on the ladder for a couple hours. They've played 16 times? That's a lot. I guess it's kind of even. It's like 8 to 8, 9 to 7. I'm a little bit surprised, guys, to see both of them go for a pylon and a gateway on the low ground. Of course, this is a map with a ramp. And there was a time that almost every single high-level Protoss player was doing it. But now a lot of Protoss players are moving away from this. And they'll just say that this is not all that good anymore. As Nightmare loses his probe in the natural. He was not very happy with that. Because keeping it alive for as long as possible is important. Because it can give you a lot of information that's very hard to obtain otherwise. I think he already saw the Stargate, so that is something. But you still love to keep it around for a little bit longer, so at least you get the confirmation that the Nexus got warped in as well. 29-24 in favor of Trigger, historically, on maps. So who goes Phoenix, who goes Oracle? Is it an all-out Phoenix war? Probably not. These two guys don't strike me as Phoenix enjoyers. It would make sense to me to build Phoenix here, but I know you guys don't take me serious when it comes from me. You guys need a max specs in the chat to say that the right call here is Phoenix. Ever believe me. At least Nightmare has gone Oracle into Phoenix. Or did he cancel his Oracle, guys? Because I think Nightmare had an Oracle in production. I guess he cancelled it. He just wants to go Phoenix. We have one Stalker. This Phoenix is going to try to get on top of the Oracle as quickly as possible. But where is that Oracle? At least we're going to get a shield battery in the main base. So that is good news for Nightmare. Can't really do a whole lot here. Probably have to recall the Oracle ASAP. It's not too bad, guys, to have an Oracle that doesn't deal anything in a PvP. It doesn't deal any damage early on. Because it keeps the Phoenixes guessing as well. And it's very hard for Nightmare to make the correct calls. If the Phoenixes stay at home defensively and they are just looking to intercept an Oracle coming in from a weird angle, you're obviously not scouting and you're not dealing damage on the other side of the map. So having Oracles that don't deal any damage is not that bad. If you make 2 of them though, like Trigger did here, then obviously you're hoping for some damage eventually. I think you forgot Santiago Jimenez in that list, by the way, Lino, but other than that, solid list. I mean, people have very high standards, man, when it comes to this whole gym stuff and working out. If I see somebody walk to the supermarket instead of taking their car, I'm already proud. I'm like, well, let's go. Just like I'm pretty proud of Trigger over here for killing 10 probes. Does lose the Oracles rather early, so at this point, Nightmare should be able to send the Phoenix to the other side of the map, kill a couple probes too, and have a very good idea of what is happening, but I think any workout is a good workout. Even if the form is a little bit off. I think Serral looked fantastic. I'm proud of him. You guys should see my activity list of my phone. My phone was very proud of me the 10 days I was in America. Like, you're doing way better than usual. I'm crushing every record. Grabs all the way up. Since I came home, it's like, well, you've taken like 12 steps today. You can still complete your daily goal. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. Turns out that walking from my bed to the shower to my streaming setup and back is not good enough. Walking up and down the strip in Vegas was a whole lot better. Nightmare has built a pylon and a gateway on the other side of the map, so he's going to be a bit aggressive with all his Blink Stalkers, but Trigger, his Stalker count looks good. The only problem is that Trigger has not quite figured out yet that Nightmare is setting this up, and those 3 Phoenixes, guys, they can still come in very, very handy, but Nightmare's supply block, not anymore. I'm a bit worried for Trigger, but this is actually good news because he didn't build the Nexus yet. Trigger, just go back, mate. If you defend, you're fine. If he would be defending in his natural, he's fine. Now, fighting in the middle of nowhere, I don't know about this. Forward blink by Nightmare as he snipes that Warp Prism immediately. Uh-oh. I mean, I'm happy that the Phoenixes are not here, guys, because if 3 Phoenixes were here to lift 3 Stalkers from Trigger, then Trigger would be in serious trouble, and Trigger might still be in a bit of trouble because the Phoenix do show up. One of them dies. I wish that Trigger would have just maybe recalled or ran back immediately when he saw that Nightmare was being aggressive, because he knew he dealt a lot of damage early on with his Oracles. And that fight would have gone a whole lot better for our Canadian Protoss if he was just chilling at the top of his ramp. Also, I think on top of that, Trigger should always keep in mind that Nightmare, I think, is a pretty aggressive Protoss. So this shouldn't have came as too much of a surprise to him. If I think of Korean Protosses in this day and age that like to be aggressive, I think he's one of the first ones that jump to my mind. If the Cybernetics core dies, obviously Trigger can temporarily no longer warp in any more Stalkers. He has already rebuilt it. And he's now kind of being contained. It is adding up. I don't want to say it's game over. I think comebacks are absolutely possible in PvP, but as Nightmare is going up to 3 bases and can still get a bit of value out of these Phoenixes, it is not looking too hot for our Canadian. But it's still too early to call it. 22 Stalkers on the side of Nightmare against the 18 Stalkers on the side of Trigger. Observer. Unfortunately, Trigger does not have like a probe or a Warp Prism, so it's not like he can already get a setup going on the other side of the map where if he takes a good fight, he can immediately return and answer with a devastating counterattack. The only thing he can really do is just take a fight into a far superior concave of the Korean Protoss. At least we've got a Big Daddy Immortal, but it's not quite here yet, and I feel that Trigger kind of went a bit too early. Now he just lost so many units, and the Immortal is still not firing. Finally it is. But that's where the Phoenix is going to come into play, and I think Nightmare has now officially done it. He is going to take the 1-0 lead versus Trigger. An unfortunate game where I think Trigger was in a perfectly fine spot. It's only that his army was terribly out of position when Nightmare attacked him, and he did not expect the attack. I don't know if towards the end there was really any hope. Yeah, maybe if the Immortal's like kind of not truly leading the charge, but is like the 2nd or the 3rd unit down a ramp, and then you blink forward. Maybe then we could have crushed. But obviously the way that we walked down that ramp in the end, there is no way we're ever going to crush there. That is going to do it. Matcherino Esports will not get 6-0 today. Nightmare is going to take the 1-0 lead in this PvP best of 2. We'll still watch the second game between these two as well, though. Trigger is a warrior, though. Still believes. Down a base. Losing a lot. Does have +1. Hello, Cell. Couple Zealots being warped in on the side of Nightmare as well. These Zealots have charge. They're going to give him the wraparound. The Trigger has done his absolute best to still make something of this game, but I think at this point it's an unfair fight. Trigger knows that as well. GG gets called. Nightmare gets a point on the board for the Matcherino Esports. Doesn't really change anything for the WTL standings. But obviously it'd be nice and be a bit of a momentum and a confidence booster if Trigger can just get a 2-0. Unfortunately, that is not happening. So now we are aiming for a draw. But we don't have to worry about losing any points. We already got all 3 points. So The most important thing, guys, is that Basilisk stays undefeated in the WTL code as regular season. We are now 6-0 in our second season. Went 11-0 in the first season. Did you like my tweet, Kevin? Let me take a look at your tweet, mate. I don't know if you made a tweet. Please don't tell me that you tweeted those awful glasses that you DM'd to me yesterday. Oh, it was something about Serral. Serral talk. I didn't really get it. Is it just you posting a picture of Serral being very cool? Yeah, I did see it. Okay. I mean, Serral does look very cool here. But I didn't really get the whole talking to my mom thing. But if it makes you happy, it makes me happy, mate. Let me go ahead and take a quick look. I believe, guys, there is a giveaway. A Basilisk giveaway that is related to charity. I knew that this was happening, but earlier I wasn't sure where it was happening. So I can give you guys a link. And I believe that the idea is that you guys can donate to charity, the Starlight Children's Foundation. And by doing that, you'll be eligible to win a couple of Basilisk prizes, like the Basilisk Rubik's Cube that Reynor has posted, or a Basilisk Roddy jersey that is also signed by me, I believe. I think I signed some. So that is our giveaway, but I don't know if there is more to it. There are some Basilisk caps as well that are signed by Serral, Reynor, Trigger, and myself. There's a lot of cool stuff. Is there a Basilisk tweet? Because that would probably make you guys. Yay! Oh wait, this was the tweet. Okay, so the tweet was posted a little while ago. But yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and get rid of that monstrous bank that you're sitting on and donate to the Starlight Children's Foundation, you can win awesome Basilisk prizes. That should be all. Maybe I should make a little comment. This is the link one more time. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam. I think that's all there is to it. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. We'll take another look at it. You want the Serral cap? It's not an exclusive Serral cap, but we may get exclusive Serral caps down the line. Now, by doing something nice and supporting a charity, you can win at least some Basilisk merch. A lot of you guys have been spamming us about Basilisk merch. This is one way to not guarantee yourself of getting it. Giving yourself a pretty good chance. A Rubik's Cube, a shirt, a cap. It's not about subbing to me. It's about donating to charity. Subbing to me has nothing to do with it. Top left side on Oceanborn, guys. We are taking a look at the main base of Matcherino Esports Nightmare. He has taken a 1-0 lead against this man. Bottom right side, hailing from Canada, representing Basilisk, it is a Trigger. Trigger is going to go for a 3-gate Robo, I believe. We only have 2 gateways on Robo right now, but a tiny chance he goes for an expand. But nobody ever expands with a Robo in their main. I don't believe it. Third gateway got warped in. A Nightmare is expanding, so build order-wise, this is actually not too shabby for Trigger. Nightmare is going to try to figure this out as quickly as possible. He's got Adepts. Adepts are not fantastic in dealing with 3-gate Robo. Like later on, it is nice to have a couple of Adepts in the mix. But if Trigger is just going to build a Warp Prism first, and then he's going to spam Stalkers, having to battle that many Stalkers with a bunch of Adepts, not what anybody's sweet Protoss dreams are made of. Definitely not mine. Nightmare, I think, at this point has kind of put 2 and 2 together, so he's going to warp in his own defensive Robo. That's going to take a little while. I'd be very impressed if Nightmare can win this game. Now, the beautiful thing about StarCraft 2, guys, is that lovely nerds inspire me all the time. Actually, gotta say, these adepts are doing pretty good so far against the Stalkerinos. Maybe Trigger got a bit overeager at first. Stalkers are a lot better than adepts, but obviously adepts in these numbers can absolutely bring the fight to the Stalkers. Trigger can be very happy. Ooh, that's a slow warping as well. I mean, eventually I think we can turn around and fight this. Now with a couple of extra Stalkers showing up, we can. But 3 Stalkers have died. In return, a few more adepts should go down. I think both adepts will die. The first one died, the second one died. The observer didn't want to show it to us. Not a bad start for Nightmare, to be completely fair. Getting that much value out of a couple of adepts. Taking out 3 Stalkers, pretty good. Double battery has force fields here, but you don't need to worry too much about force fields. Good job by Trigger being as decisive as he currently is. Kills the second sentry as well. So far, this is the worst battery overcharge that I have seen today, guys. And I saw battery overcharge being used for a couple of probes against 27 Mutalisks. But even that one was better than this one. This overcharge has done absolutely nothing. The battery dies, second battery will fall. And I think at this point, at the bare minimum, Trigger is going to get the Nexus. But I think Trigger wants a whole lot more than the Nexus. Trigger wants that Immortal. It's a little bit hard. Upper ramp. This is crazy. Huh. That was a incredibly underwhelming battery overcharge. Couldn't save the sentry. Couldn't save the adept. Will there be an interview after Roddy? Yes, there should be. I know that Reynor is probably very eager to leave the household. He wants to enjoy that magnificent Dutch weather in the month of November. But we will do a little interview with the boys. And after that, I'll hop into Africa Freaks versus Platinum Heroes. Who are they playing, guys? What does my stream title say? I feel like it's not Platinum Heroes. Yeah, that is something that happens quite often, Zaki. It's really annoying about Protoss, but if your unit is being attacked and a battery without overcharge is healing it, if you overcharge a different battery, that battery will not take priority. You legitimately need to stop that first battery from healing before the overcharged battery starts healing stuff. I can hear Nikita curse in Russian from here. I think going for one. Are they already in Europe for the ESL Masters? It is Plat Heroes. Sick. How are they already in Europe? I thought Asia would go until like 4 p.m. or something. The Netherlands has magnificent November weather. I have a little table in my backyard with 4 chairs. One chair was in the left corner of my yard, the other one was in the right corner of my yard. So some weird shit is happening over here in Zuidland, guys, but I believe that my chairs are walking around in my backyard. We had an insane storm, like legitimately, for Dutch standards, a very wild storm yesterday. Today it's kind of chill, but yesterday was... the worst part was between, I think, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Reynor. So, like, by the time that you went out with your boy, I think it calmed down a little. But between 3 and 7, or even between noon and 7, it was pretty intense. It was still very bad. Okay. Yeah, I went to the supermarket and I had a hard time making sure that my shopping cart did not fly away and run into some car. I had one close call with a dude in a Mercedes. He gave a look at me that said it all. He basically said, "You got very, very, very lucky." And I was like, "I know." But I was in charge. I was holding it with all my strength. So this game has gone on after Trigger took out the Nexus in the best of 2. That obviously does not really matter, but once you're playing it, you obviously don't want to lose it. It's nice for the Matcherino esports that they got 1 map win. I'm a bit surprised that Nightmare has such a terrifying army. But Trigger is about to have Blink. And Immortals are good, guys. But Blink is also very good. I know what you guys are thinking, but Roddy, Nightmare has Blink too, but he doesn't have many Stalkers, so it doesn't matter. I like the idea of the 2 adepts in the main base. That's a good way to cause some chaos. These 2 adepts have revealed themselves. Trigger cannot send too many units over, needs to focus on the defense. Will drop a couple of early force fields. Don't go too far away from your batteries. I like the defensive Blink, and I like this overcharge, guys. Already a lot better than the first overcharge. Now we can blink forward, I think, and snipe the Warp Prism exactly like that. Snipes the Prism, snipes the Immortal as well. Only lost 4 probes, by the way, during all of this. And I think now we can continue. We get the second Immortal, so we get 2 out of 3 and the War Prism. I think it's in the bag, guys. I think our final best of 2 between Basilisk and the Matcherino Esports is going to end in a draw. Oh no. Not even close, ACME. There was nothing left. We are on the potato and noodle month. Trigger his War Prism now also gets picked off, as I don't think that was truly necessary. Great observer on the side of Nightmare there. Trigger now blinking into the natural, getting at least the battery. Is going to get 1 sentry, might be able to get the second one as well. If Trigger would have played it out in literally any other way, he could have just ended the game. I think now we might still be able to end the game. Can we activate the barrier and then blink on top of the Immortal and end it? Barrier is active. Alright, he wants to get that Immortal. He will get that Immortal. A little bit of overkill there towards the end. There were really not that many shots needed anymore. Trigger is very eager to just end it right here, right now. There is one more Immortal. Trigger doesn't care about a barrier. Wants to get on top of that one as well. Eventually, we probably want to kill that Immortal though. All of the Stalkers are very, very low on HP. I think it is good enough. It's not the prettiest attack ever. This could have been so much easier if he would have not lost that Immortal Sentry and the War Prism, but I think it is okay. Trigger is already in the chat, spoiling the game for us, guys. That's nice. This is where 2 people in the chat are like, why is the caster saying that the game is over? It's like, well, because the guy who was playing in the game is also in my chat. Trigger said that he went for that War Prism move into the main because he forgot Nightmare had Blink. I gotta say, when you have 2 Adepts in your main and you have to defend against 3 Immortals in your natural, yeah, you don't really think about Blink. Because Nightmare had way more other units than he had Blink Stalkers. But it is okay. Even after our War Prism Immortal Sentry donation, it is good enough. 12 Worker lead, 14 Army Supply lead. It is not the perfect clean sweep 6-0, but, you know, we like the Matcherino Esports. I think they have an awesome team. I love Future. I'm a little bit sad that he didn't play today. Obviously, love Astrea, Arrogfire. I think Nightmare is a very fun Protoss as well. So I'm happy to see that they at least got 1 point. Would have preferred to see them take a point against Reynor instead of Trigger, but we can't have it all in life, guys. Yeah, Trigger, that is actually a bannable offense in my channel. I don't ban often. I don't like banning. But spoiling games? While we are still watching them? How much delay do they use, by the way? I thought it was very short. I thought it was like a minute. Apparently there's a solid 2 or 2.5 minutes. This game was super over. I don't know. There are people out there who will say that a Korean Protoss always has a chance. High APM, fantastic Blink Stalker micro. I was ready to go all out and hype up this upcoming fight. And you stole away my thunder. How is a man supposed to make a living if I can't do any fake casting? GG! Trigger ties things up and makes it a 5-1 score in the end. Overall, a good day at the office for us, guys. This is once more the way that it went down. A 2-0 for Serral versus Astrea. That best of 2 took longer than the other 4 games combined. Reynor with a very quick and straightforward 2-0 over Arrogfire. And in the end, Trigger with a 1-1 draw in PvP against Nightmare. We improved to 6-0 in the regular season. And we'll do a little interview with the boys before I hop into our second match of the day. Wow, Shopify, by the way. What the hell? Since when are these guys cooking this hard? Shopify was 5-0. We are now 6-0. But we have... Do we really have less points? Is this happening again, guys? Is this actually happening again? Did we have that many ace matches? I thought we only had 2 so far. I guess we just didn't get the points right. Why doesn't Basilisk have a Terran? Because Zerg is better. That's why. How's the Rebellion cooking this hard, guys? Last year they didn't even make it into the playoffs. It's not updated yet. Alright, so this is not updated yet, guys. We are actually first. We just didn't get our points yet. But they have a lot of points, though. It's all good. GG. So good start for us. I'm going to go ahead and take a very tiny break. After that break, I'll be back with an interview with Serral, Reynor, and Trigger. I'll ask them some questions about the match against Dragon Kaiser Gaming last week, this week, why Reynor is always trying to dodge and weasel his way out of an interview. More of that coming up soon on this channel. I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'll settle the prediction and get the next prediction ready too.